happening, lads and lassies? Today is a very special day, for it is the 31st. Well, technically, it's the first now because it's past 12 o'clock, and we were supposed to be covering this for Halloween, but life gets in the way and schedules and things. But, as you can tell by the background, we're covering a very special movie, one of the amazing starters of the slasher genre, and that is Halloween with me, Kanan Wolf, the main man, MMA King Crease Jr. And without further ado, let's get into it.
Yay!
So let's start off with the obvious: is that this is dated as shit now because it released in 1978. So let's just say for the first 50 odd minutes of this movie, it's just a whole setup for like the impending doom for everyone, let's say. So basically, it starts off with Laurie just doing her thing, being a quote unquote teenage girl, even though half her friends look 30, like they all did in all these old horror films for some strange reason, even though they weren't. Like some of them are in their 20s, but I don't know what it is. She looked younger as she got older. It doesn't make quite sense to me. It's just is what it is. But ironically, it's just basically what I think about this movie specifically is that it played on the psychological horror stuff again. So it sort of borrowed from Texas because I'm pretty sure Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out before this one, but it
hmm
focused more on like the psychological side of it. And so obviously everybody remembers Michael as being this big bad unstoppable kill machine, but in this movie he's just a guy that steals a car, he stalks a few lassies, and then eventually he strangles one or two, and then that's about it. And then he tries to fail stab Laurie about 50 times, which is quite funny. But yeah, so
Yep.
what were some of your opinions on this one, Danny? Because I actually have quite a bit to go into after this, so I was going to let you start off properly.
Well, let's just say this is the beginning and the ending of this franchise. Like, if you, if you just want to keep it 100,
Yeah.
it went from just a dude in a mask, in a William Shatner mask, just shaking mofo's to this unstoppable cult like killing machine. I guess if you watch the other Halloween movies, it starts to get more ridiculous and more ridiculous and more ridiculous. But
Yeah,
you
it
know,
sort of,
for the
sort of becomes like one of those happy day go, like, look, we've joined a cult, guys. Hey, Paul Rudd's here for no apparent fucking reason as well. Oh yeah, Buster Rhymes shows up just for the sake of it, you know. So it is one of those situations, unfortunately. But like this one is good in the sense of that it does play more on your suspicion. It's basically
hmm
it plays on the idea of curiosity kills a cat. So everybody hears about this horrible thing because obviously this has got the most iconic opening of all time with a little boy stalking his sister who, let's just be real, she gets railed, and that's it. So he's stalking them through the window like he's known to. He's breathing heavily through a clown mask, and he decides to just shank up his sister for no apparent reason. I've seen people on the internet trying to break it down, saying it was like some like psychological sexual behavior sort of type thing, and I'm just like, dude, stop reading too much in it. It's just a kid that went a bit haywire and stabbed his sister, man.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Like I think, and you'll probably agree with me on this. It's like I love the Halloween fan bases, but sometimes y'all guys are annoying, man. You just can't let things just go. Can we just like have it just to be the way we don't need more breakdowns on Halloween. Like it's just like John Carpenter even said, dude, like seriously, y'all guys are putting way too much into this.
Hmm.
He was just a dude going around Halloween shanking mofos. That's it. Like that's it. No, there's a deeper meaning of it. No,
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 there's
that's
not.
it. Like
Like that's the thing when it came to this movie specifically as well, like John Carpenter has always said that legitimately it was only supposed to be a one-off movie, and it was supposed to be one of those like, how is he the way he is? It's non-explainable, and that's what gave Michael Myers his mystique, and that's what made him such a popular, polarizing like horror villain. Where everybody else had a fucking backstory, like Freddy Krueger had a backstory, Jason Voorhees had a backstory. All these people had backstories. But Michael was the one that stood out because he didn't have a backstory. It was just he was a kid, he became pure evil, stabbed his sister, and then that was it. One of the things I do find funny in this movie is though is that like it's so badly shot because it was a low budget movie for the time. So going back and
hmm
rewatching it, like some of the like scenes are just like, oh okay, cool. Also, they just really overuse the music within it.
hmm
They kept trying to like make it more suspenseful by going for like 10 minutes after, like, we see him escape. Also, the escaping part was a bit weird as well, and it's like never really truly explained. Um,
Mhm.
this guy who's been locked up in a penitentiary for years somehow knows how to drive a car, somehow knows how to steal a car from a police office, well, Dr. Loomis and a nurse, like it was easy as anything. Also,
Mhm.
the only way he actually technically scares them in this one is he just slaps the window with his hand, and she's like, and Dr. Loomis gets out of the
Yeah.
car, but doesn't shoot him even though he's on top of the car, and then he gets into the car and drives away, and it's a bit convoluted. Like eventually, you just get a bit like, oh, okay. Also, like one thing that makes no sense as well is that I don't know if you noticed this, is like he steals that car, right? But they also
Mhm.
have him kill a random truck driver for no reason, just to steal his overalls,
Yeah.
and even at that, it's not even shown. It's just off screen, and you just see him in a bush somewhere. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, fair it is. Well, there's one thing that I've noticed with this one is that it definitely does not explain a lot of things within the movie. The only sort of establishing that you get is obviously Laurie herself and her friends. And obviously, it's the very generic old school stereotype of like, she's the virgin that can't ask a guy out to save herself because she's a goody two shoes, other than smoking a wee bit of the funny stuff, if you know, well, if you know, you know. Um,
And it wasn't even the good stuff too. They were still talking like they were sober. Like I'm just saying, man, they got a bad batch. They sold you some seeds, and I'm just saying they sold you some seeds. If you catch my drift, internet, like
Yeah, no. So, like, obviously, like, it establishes the friend group. Two of the other girls are clearly promiscuous, and they want to fool around with boys. And Gloria's like, oh, I'm just gonna go babysit and actually babysit. It's all that sort of stuff. It's like the old school babysitter stuff. And it wasn't even the first movie to like play on the babysitter thing. There was like one before this as well. But
there was plenty of them, man.
yeah,
It's just this one just got really popular. That's all it
yeah.
was.
So obviously going forward, when it comes to this movie specifically, the thing that I think that does make it stand out is the fact that it does play on the psychological element. It's like, whereas he can be there at all times, in certain scenes of the movie, he's actually just following them. And like, sometimes you notice it, sometimes you don't. And obviously if you rewatch it, you'll see times where you're like, oh, I missed that car sitting there. Or, there will be like a little
Mhm.
like nod to him being around, like stalking. Because the shape, the reason why it was called the shape is because he's supposed to be, he stalks his prey and kills them. And he does that with
Yeah.
his sister at the beginning, and then he does it with all this. And obviously they had this weird thing where, just for some stupid reason, they obviously have it that he steals his sister's gravestone and then kills her bunch of
Yeah.
friends, and then puts I would argue, the wrong person underneath the gravestone, because technically speaking, the two people that he eventually goes on to unalive, who were doing the same thing as his sister, was the one that got put in the cupboard, all like scrunched
Yeah.
up. And I'm like, well, technically speaking, you went about unaliving her more like your actual sister. So technically, if you're going to do some sort of like, homage to your first ever time doing that, you'd expect it to actually be that girl. So I think in Rob Zombie's remake, they like rectified that part, because I think everybody was like, I think maybe they just didn't realize what girl they actually put there, because like, it makes no sense, logically speaking, why she
Yeah.
was there, because she was just randomly like choked in a car.
Other than her, I guess other than she had a big mouth and like he basically just said like, okay, you my first one in a long time. So like, I mean, you can like see it as that, but to
Yeah.
your point, yeah, you're correct about that. Like, it kind of doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then on top of that, it's like this movie is a slow burn. Like, we find out about
Yeah.
Tommy and the fact that he gets bullied. We find out about the story of
Hmm.
the boogeyman, and obviously Doctor Loomis is like, this guy's evil. He's pure evil incarnated. He just sat there and looked through the wall. He wasn't staring at the wall. He was looking straight on through it, thinking about that fateful night that he'd done this. He never spoke for 8 years, and the thing that I found funny about this movie is that Dr. Loomis is like the equivalent of Tommy in Halloween Kills. It's like, evil dies tonight, and he's like, evil's here tonight. It's like, yeah, we get it, Dr. Loomis, we get it, man. Like, chill.
I
Also,
mean, for
Sheriff
Doctor,
Brackett.
I was gonna say like for just to be on Doctor Loomis's side, like when you been with the dude for about 8 years and you put in your best work. You gave him everything, like the bat and everything. And he still hasn't done nothing. Yeah, man, we gotta kill this dude. Like, nah, man, that's evil right there. That's a crazy right there. Like, no, we gotta kill him. Kill him now. Like, you don't need no trial. You don't need no judge, no jury. Kill him now. Like,
Yeah.
to your point.
See, that's the thing as well. It's like they establish very on, if you hear heavy breathing, Michael somewhere, because even as a child, the iconic heavy breathing behind the mask is obviously
Mm-hmm.
established, and then they go on to do that again, with and later on in the series. Especially one of the other things that I find quite funny rewatching, like the original one. Like, don't get me wrong, I'll always have a special place for this movie in my heart because
Mm-hmm.
obviously it is a good movie. But see some of the like scenes that were so unnecessary sometimes, and you're just like, why is
Yeah.
this even fucking here? Like the
Yeah.
amount of time we spend with Laurie looking out windows and just him being like, hi there, hi,
Yeah.
hi, and then disappearing. And then he's like, he comes behind the bush. Do you remember me, pal? Yeah. Well, I'm still here, by the way. I'm just letting you know I'm
Yeah.
still here, by the way. And then obviously Tommy's like, the biggie man's coming, like then like for me and stuff. And she's like, oh, you're being ridiculous. And then ironically, Tommy was right because the biggie man shows up, So
Yeah.
just saying,
I
maybe listen to
mean,
the kids.
I was gonna say this. Let me ask you this question, right? Kane, like, let me see. So, like, if this movie, like, nostalgia aside, if this movie was like here today, like, if this was filmed today, 2023, do you think it gets the same love, or do you think it still gets like,
Definitely not. And to be fair, it would be a
yeah,
completely different fucking movie. One, it'd be 10
yeah,
times more as violent. Second of all, if with the Hollywood scene at the minute, like I don't even know who the fuck
yeah,
would it could be a final guy, it could be a final, I don't know. So like that's the thing. I
yeah,
don't know. Like if it was just the same film released now, definitely not because it's so low budget to the point where a lot of the movie is just a build up. Like you don't get your first kill until 54 minutes bang on in the movie. And
yeah,
that is not even a very like that's the thing. Like he doesn't actually stab anyone in this one, if you notice. Like he just strangles them all. I think the
yeah,
only one he does properly
hmm,
stab in this movie is Bob. Other
yeah,
than that, he misses all the time because he's just trying to stab Laurie. Like he hits her in the arm or hits her in the leg or whatnot. Well, not in the leg. She falls down the stairs. But that's what I'm saying. He kind of misses a lot, and she actually stabs him more than he does stabbing in this one. Obviously, in the second
yeah,
one, completely changes. Like he becomes like proper brutal stabby, and that's where we get the
yeah,
Michael we all know from the rest of the movies going forward. So,
yeah,
like, ironically, when I actually look back at this one, you can actually see that it was just basically sound effects and basically them trying
hmm,
to scare you with the suspension of where the fuck is he can be coming from, like that dark corner over there, you know?
yeah,
Like that's it really. And when it comes to like the storyline, it wasn't really a story. It was just really
yeah,
this girl's a babysitter. She's going to be doing this. This guy shows
yeah.
up, nearly kills
It's
her.
it's
Dr. Loomis
it's
shows up
basically
to
what
save the
John
day.
Carpenter. It's basically what John Carpenter told you. Like, it's like, listen, guys, I'm not making a rocket science here movie. Like, it was not supposed to be like this. Like, seriously, I'm just telling you the truth and everything. It was supposed to be guy in a mask kill shank mofos. That's it. There's no sequel. There was not supposed to be no sequels anything like that. I didn't want to do this no more. Leave me alone. Just like let it die. Like
Yeah, because he wanted to, if he was to make it a trilogy, he wanted to make it an anthology series where it was a different story each time, and that's why we got Halloween 3 that no one fucking liked and it's a piece of shit. But like that's his original idea was to do more of that stuff, and that's why when he realized it didn't work, they got someone else in and brought back Michael Myers because they were like, ah, hell no, we need Michael because Michael's what made these movies. But the thing with the original as well is like even the conversations, like
money.
even like this, like the fucking dialogue in this movie, if you actually pay attention to it, it's really bad. And like one girl, I said this whilst we were watching it, like within a 30 to 40-second time span, she says totally like every like 3 seconds. Like totally, totally. I'm like, no one fucking speaks like
70s.
that. Even back then, like, come on, no one uses totally
70s.
that much. Even in the
Totally.
70s, I doubt anybody was walking around going like totally every like 3 seconds. Like anytime I watch other movies from the 70s, no one talks like that.
Totally, dude.
Totally tubular, dude. See, that's more like 80s when it was like surfing and like skating culture came into play. Not fucking 70, like 78, where they were transitioning into that, but
Yeah.
it's beyond the point. But for me, arguably, I think because it's such a beloved movie and I love it as well. Obviously, I'm a bit
Yeah.
biased towards it, but if I was to be unbiased and take my what would you call it, your nostalgia out of it, unlike
Yeah.
most people, I can actually fucking do that, by the way.
Yeah.
Not shooting anybody in the foot or anything, but I'm just saying a lot of people I could argue on a daily basis with about the fact that they don't realize that it's shit just because their nostalgia's in there. But
Yeah.
I'm just talking about everybody in general, by the way, just as a basis consensus of the list.
Yeah.
when I've went back and watched Power Rangers and stuff, as much as I love it and things, there is issues just like this one where like a lot of the time you spend most of the time with Laurie. She doesn't really do much. And when it comes to the actual final act, which is like the last 34 minutes of the movie, is when it all gets like to the Michael and like the Laurie Strode that we knew. So it's quite bizarre how this movie was able to do so well back then to spawn so many sequels, because it's not a movie that you'd expect to do well in today's climate, especially because of how low budget it was. And people are always talking about how storytelling is like has to be the fundamental thing, and there always has to be deeper meanings. Where here it's just basically guy in a mask that he stole for a shop, stabs people, and that's it. And but they just played on the aspect of how the fuck can he teleport? What the fuck? What is this guy? What he could be anywhere at any time, and that's what made it so good. And I will still say it's still a good movie to this day. If you still love Halloween, go back and watch it. You'll fucking love it. But if you've never seen it before and you want to watch it, you might go back and go, why does everybody love this movie? It's not amazing, or it's not like this. But what you've got to remember, for the time, it was one of a kind, and it was so fucking thing.
Yeah.
Because Freddy Krueger had a backstory, Jason had a backstory, Michael didn't. So it made him mysterious. It made him more intriguing because of that. Where a lot of these other people, when it comes to horror movies, they usually focus too much on the whys and the why nots and how did they become this way and things like that. Where that's why I like this movie, is that it doesn't go too over the top, and it just is what it is.
And also, it was a different time too. Like it was like the late 70s and 80s. Like you couldn't. There was a lot of things you couldn't really do in movies at that time too. So like they had to factor that stuff in too, because like they had to make sure that it was not too violent for everything for these type of people, and make sure you have to make sure that they weren't doing this type of thing to kids and everything like that. So it was just a different time at that time, so it's crazy.
Yeah, like even when it comes to like, ironically, this is just a thing that's in horror movies, so nobody coming for us at the comics, right? Even back then, this is like when they started doing like the topless scenes with women, and like they would be in underwear, but it was never as like graphic as it is nowadays, where it's like sometimes it's just
they want you to see it.
It's nearly should be on a website with hub at the end of it, like But back then, like they didn't get away with much, so you'll get the occasional flash here or there if you catch my drift. But
the Pringle hub, Pringles.
But overall, though, I would still give this movie like a solid 8.5. If it came out in today's standard, it would probably be like a 6.5. But because of what it done for the horror genre and what what it actually is, I can gladly give it like a 8.5 to a 9, because this is just a great Halloween movie. There's no issues with it. There's no bad things with it.
For me, I will give it same thing, 8.5 if it was well, of course, since it's a 78 movie or whatever, but but if we're talking about in today's standards, like 6 or 7, like it's like okay, once again, like I said, this was the beginning and the end of the franchise, because y'all know the history. I mean, like we have how many Halloween movies now?
At least over 10 anyway.
At least over 10, and you already know
I think the original trilogy went up to 6. Then we got H2O, and then the other one, and then it went to the reboots in 2018, which is Halloween Kills.
Yeah.
So roughly about 10 or just under 10, I think.
And you know what? And you want to know what's the funny part, Kanan? Guess what? Cause another company bought the rights to the Halloween franchise.
Yeah, I've already saw this. We were gonna get another Michael Myers. It's fine.
We're gonna get more Michael
and the Rob
Myers.
Zombie reboot, the Rob Zombie reboot as well, which is obviously the 2007. To be fair, we could go on to review that one, and we could discuss that one, because I think that would be actually quite a fun video.
Oh yeah, down the line we should do that one, for compare and contrast from the first Halloween movie to Rob Zombie's franchise or whatever. But yeah, man, it's it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? We could be talking about this franchise all the time. What you fit it? Well, go ahead, man.
Right. So it's at the point of post credits. So Coming up next on the dynamic duo after this Halloween stuff is over, it's almost like we're returning back to our favorite characters, and ironically, it's to continue on something that we've already did before we started the Halloween stuff. So, if you want to see my main man Dick, my main man Damien, and my main man Bruce have a lot of fun, come on down and watch our video, which comes out whenever we fucking feel like it, basically. Anyway, I have been
So you
Kane and
tell me
Wilf.
that we're going back to Gotham City, my friend.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
So, anyway, I have been Kane and Wilf. That has been MMA King Crease Jr. And we shall catch you guys in the next video.
Peace out.